Welcome to Evolving Into Her. I'm Ashley Hope, and this is your weekly check-in to get out of your head, into your body, and back into alignment with the version of you who's already living the vision. So grab your favorite cup of tea, settle in, and let's get into the show. Hey girl, hey, welcome back to Evolving Into Her. This is your host, Ashley Hope, and we are officially stepping into a brand new series entitled, It's Time to Get Out of Your Own Way, Sis. I'm super excited about this one, but before we get started, if you haven't listened to episode 28, the series opener, go back and play that one first. It really sets the tone for what we're unpacking this season, and honestly, it'll help this conversation land even deeper. And just to give you a brief recap, in that opener, I talked about how sometimes we say we're waiting on God to move when he's really waiting on us, all right? Waiting for us to stop overthinking, to stop overworking, to stop playing small, and to stop blocking what he's been trying to bless. Whew. And listen, I have been there. And at the top of 2024, I made a decision that changed so much. It really changed my life. I told myself I was done standing in my own way. I couldn't wait for every fear to fade or every doubt to disappear before I started moving and doing what God called me to do and being obedient. I had to move scared. I had to move unsure. I had to move even though there was fear there. But I made a decision. I made a promise, not only to myself, but to the Most High. I had to move. And even though it stretched me, even though I cried, even though I questioned myself, I complained, I am so proud of the woman that decision shaped me into, because it showed me what happens when you stop trying to control everything and actually let God work through you. And that's what this series is all about, learning how to stop being the block, how to stop being the op, how to stop being your worst enemy. And over the next few weeks, we're going to talk about the little ways we hold ourselves back, the subtle patterns that look like discipline or self-awareness. But really, they're just resistance. Okay. And today we're starting with a big one, a very common one, the trap of being busy. You know, that version of you that's always in motion, always checking something off, always working on the next thing, but never really feeling fulfilled. I'm going to gently and lovingly call you out. Okay. Later in this episode, I'll share a little neuroscience behind why your brain actually gets addicted to busyness and how to rewire that pattern so you can start moving with intention instead of compulsion. Okay, clock it. So friend, grab something you can sip slow, get comfortable, and let's get into the show. So maybe you can relate to this, sis. I am sure that a lot of you can, but for a long time, I thought staying busy meant I was doing something right. If my schedule was full, I felt accomplished. If I was tired, I told myself that was just the price of success. And if someone said, Ashley, girl, you're always doing something, you're always busy, I took that as a compliment, because deep down, I love the validation. I wanted to feel needed. I wanted to feel useful. I wanted to feel important, especially as an eldest daughter. Okay. It was part of my identity. But what I didn't realize back then was that staying busy made me feel safe. If I just kept moving, I didn't have to slow down long enough to face myself. I didn't have to deal with the thoughts that crept in when things got quiet. I didn't have to sit with my grief. I really thought I could outrun reflection if I just kept moving, if I just stayed in motion. But the gag is your brain actually learns to crave that. And here's where the neuroscience comes in, because this isn't just a mindset thing. Friend, your brain actually learns to crave that constant motion. So when you're always doing something, you're finishing tasks, you're crossing things off your list, your brain releases dopamine, okay? That little chemical hit that makes you feel accomplished. It makes you feel valued. It makes you feel worthy. And over time, that dopamine hit becomes addictive. And you start chasing that same, I'm doing something feeling, even when there's nothing that really needs to be done. That's why sometimes when you finally get the chance to sit still, your body feels restless. You feel guilty for resting. You start thinking about what you should be doing next. And it's not that you don't know how to rest. It's just that your brain hasn't learned that stillness is safe yet. So I want you to start noticing when you reach for busyness. Do you really need to do that thing right now? Or are you just uncomfortable being still? Are you being productive or are you just avoiding something deeper? Because when you can answer those questions honestly, that's when things start to shift. And that's when you start moving from survival mode and from fight or flight into peace. So, sis, have you ever noticed how sometimes staying busy feels easier than slowing down? Because when you stop, baby, that silence gets loud, okay? And you start thinking about the stuff you've been avoiding, the conversations you've been putting off, the feelings you've been suppressing, the decisions you don't want to make. And if we're honest with ourselves, for most of us, that's the real reason we stay in motion. And it's not that there's so much to do. It's that stillness brings up what we don't want to face. And I had to realize that for myself. Busyness was never, just about productivity. It was my coping mechanism. It made me feel like I was in control. Because when life felt uncertain, my first instinct was to do more, to plan more, to fix more, to work more, to hustle more. And that's what over functioning really is. And we try to pass it off as responsibility, as being booked and busy. But girl, it is really just control. Okay. And I thought I was being disciplined, but really I was just distracting myself from surrender. That's all it was. And the thing about distraction, it doesn't always look unhealthy. Sometimes it looks like achievement. Sometimes it looks like service. Sometimes it looks like productivity. Sometimes it looks like strength. But when you really peel back all the layers, that constant doing is just a way to avoid feeling what's under the surface, okay? When you're always moving, your nervous system never gets a chance to reset. And you're living in that subtle state of fight or flight, even when you think you're fine. Your mind's racing, your body's tense, your spirit's tired, and you've normalized this. And that's where it becomes a little dangerous, okay? Because the longer you stay in that cycle, the more it feels like your baseline, the more it feels like the norm. And you'll slowly start to believe that peace has to be earned, that rest has to be scheduled, that slowing down means that you're slacking. But sister, peace isn't something you have to work for. It's something you return to over and over again. And when you finally slow down long enough to feel again, long enough to breathe again, long enough to be still again, you realize that all that motion wasn't momentum. It was just avoidance. Ouch. I know. Girl, sometimes the most productive thing you can do is to pause and be still. Because the moment you stop trying to control everything, you make space for God to move in a big way. And sister, that's where peace finds you again. Not in the doing, but in the being, sis. Okay. So for a long time, I didn't know how to be still. If I wasn't doing something, I felt like I was wasting time. If I wasn't working towards a goal, I felt like I was slipping behind. But what I eventually learned was that my body had simply forgotten what peace felt like. And my nervous system had been trained for constant motion, to fix, to solve, to produce, to achieve. So when life finally gave me stillness, my body didn't know what to do with that. And that's why conversations like this that bring awareness to the listener are so important, because your body and your brain can literally adapt to chaos where it becomes your norm. When you live in go mode for too long, your mind starts to believe that busy is safe and stillness is danger. So even when things finally calm down, right, your system still searches for something to manage. That is conditioning. That is programming. But the beauty is, like I always say, awareness is a beautiful gift. Awareness is healing. In that awareness, you can unlearn these patterns. So sis, when you start slowing down on purpose, when you pause before you react, when you rest without guilt, when you breathe before you decide, you're rewiring your nervous system to trust peace again. You're teaching your body that stillness isn't unsafe. It's teaching it that stillness is sacred, that stillness is necessary. And the more you do that, the easier it becomes to hear God clearly. Because sometimes it's not that he isn't speaking, it's that we're too busy to hear him. And that was the truth for me for a lot of years. And that's what getting out of your own way really means. It means letting go of the need to manage everything so God can move the way he's been trying to. It's realizing that control doesn't create security. Surrender does. So when you stop trying to force timing, when you stop trying to force outcomes or answers, you make space for divine order and divine timing to unfold. And the truth is, Girl, his way has always been lighter than ours. His way is always sexier than ours. His way is always so much better than ours. So if you've been carrying the weight of trying to hold it all together, this is your invitation to set it down. Okay. You can stop pushing. You can stop striving. You can stop managing every little detail, because the moment you step back, God steps in. And that's where true peace, clarity, the next right step, all of this finally starts to make sense, and all of it starts to fall into place. And that's how you get out of your own way, sis. That's how you get out of God's way too. So before we go, I want to give you some practical ways to find stillness. Remember that stillness doesn't mean that you don't do anything. It just means that you're choosing peace over pressure and over performance. And it's really giving yourself permission to move slower, to be present, to breathe before you react. And you can start simple. Stillness really lives in the small moments, not just the deep meditations or the days off. So maybe for you, it's starting your morning without rushing straight into your phone. So girl, before you check those TikTok notifications, before you check Facebook and Instagram, try sitting up in bed, taking a few deep breaths and asking, God, what do you need me to focus on today? That alone can shift your whole energy. It can shift the trajectory of your entire day. Maybe it's choosing to eat lunch without multitasking, actually logging off and walking away from your computer. No emails, no scrolling, just being with yourself. Maybe it's closing your laptop and stepping outside for a few minutes before you dive into the next thing. Stillness looks different for everyone, but it always starts with intention. It's the decision to be where your feet are, to give your mind a break from fixing and planning and doing and achieving and accomplishing and all the things. And to let your body know, girl, we're safe now. We don't have to stay in motion to be okay. We don't have to stay in motion to be worthy. And the more you do that, the more you practice it, the easier it gets to notice when you're just busy for the sake of being busy. You start realizing that some of the things that used to feel urgent can actually wait. You can put them on pause. You start trusting that everything that's meant for you will meet you in peace, not panic. Friend, this week I want you to practice slowing down on purpose, okay? Even if it's just for a few minutes a day, just let yourself pause long enough to breathe, to think, to hear yourself again, to hear God again. And friend, that is how you start getting out of your own way. Because when you stop trying to force everything to happen, you finally give God room to move the way he's been wanting to. And I want to leave you with this journal prompt. You can take this with you on a walk. You can sit down and actually script out the answer, or you could speak it out loud or in your voice notes, whatever feels good for you. But ponder on this over the next week. What am I still trying to control that God has already asked me to release? Whatever comes up, even if it's messy, even if it's uncomfortable, don't judge it. Sometimes the peace you've been praying for is sitting right on the other side of that release, okay? All right, sis. And before we close, I want to take a moment for her. And this week I'm doing something a little different. Usually this is where we take a few deep breaths together, but today I want to slow us down in another way through prayer. So wherever you are, I just want you to get still for a second. Take one deep breath in through your nose and let it out slowly through your mouth. Good. And let your body settle. Let your shoulders drop. Let your mind rest. Sister, you've been thinking, moving, planning, doing, accomplishing, achieving, all the things. You've been showing up. You've been keeping things together, managing what feels like 1,000 little pieces. But in this moment, I want you to know you don't have to keep carrying all of that. You can set it down. This is your moment for her. God, thank you. Thank you for this moment of stillness, for reminding us that it's okay to slow down and to just be. Sometimes we get so caught up in thinking we have to do more to be enough, or that rest means we're falling behind. Father, help us release that lie. Show us how to move from peace instead of pressure. Help us notice when we're doing things out of habit instead of alignment. when we're filling our time just to avoid sitting with ourselves and sitting with you. Teach us how to get out of our own way and thus get out of your way so you can move through us. Teach us how to stop forcing what's not flowing, to stop trying to manage what you've already handled. Remind us that we don't have to fix everything. We just have to trust you. And when we feel that urge to rush, help us pause. When we start to overthink, help us breathe. When we forget how to rest, bring us back to this moment where you meet us in peace, where you meet us where we are. We're learning to trust your timing, even when we don't understand it. We're learning to make room for you to move instead of trying to do it all ourselves. And for that, we're grateful. In your name we pray. Amen. Sis, take one more deep breath. Filling your belly, filling your diaphragm, expanding your chest. Hold at the top for a second. And exhale slowly through your mouth. And let this be the start of a slower, softer week. One where you're safe to rest, one where you're safe to receive, where you're safe to be, where you're safe to let go. All right, sis, take one last deep breath in with me. Fill that belly. Feel that diaphragm, hold at the top, and let it out slowly. Very good. Sis, I know today's conversation felt a little different, but sometimes what we need most isn't more doing, it's more being. And I know that's a foreign concept to a lot of us, especially eldest daughters, especially coming from Caribbean and African families, especially Black American girls. But this is a gentle reminder, a loving reminder, a big sis reminder that peace is allowed, even in the middle of progress. If this episode spoke to you, go back and listen to episode 28. This is the series opener. This one really sets the foundation for what we're walking through this season. And whenever life starts moving too fast again, or you catch yourself back in that loop of busyness, come back to this episode. Let it ground you. Let it remind you that you can slow down, that you can breathe, that you can trust what's meant for you won't pass you by. And make sure you're subscribed to the podcast so you don't miss next Tuesday's episode, the next episode in the series. We're talking about the perfectionism loop, that quiet pressure to get it just right before you move, before you share, before you start. It's going to be a good one, and I can't wait for you to hear it. And lastly, if you've been loving these conversations and you haven't left me a review yet, this is your loving reminder. Take a minute to leave me a written review on Apple Podcasts. Those reviews help the show reach more women who are on this journey with us, women who just need a reminder that they're not alone in their becoming. I love you, sis. Be gentle with yourself this week. Let peace set the pace for your days. Remember, you don't have to earn your rest. You just have to allow it. And I'll see you on Sunday for the next Sunday coffee chat. I have been looking at the analytics in the back office. You guys are loving these. The response is beautiful. So I will keep them coming. They are a thing now. So now we will have episodes on Sundays and Tuesdays going forward. So thank you guys for all the love. I'm Ashley Hope. And until next time, stay in devotion to your becoming. I'm Ashley Hope, and you've been listening to Evolving Into Her. Thank you so much for being here with me. Thank you for choosing her, for choosing yourself. And until next time, stay in devotion to your becoming.